altyd saam, met lyding en hoop, verdriet en saam staan jy staan. Jy is altyd daar. Dit wat ons doen, ons liefdes, ons vreugdes, ons plekke, ons thuistes, tot daar waar ons reis, jy is daar. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou het sy, met die boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Al verander straatname, al word helde laat val, ons is steeds stuur ons arm, ons kultuur, ons verhaal, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou sy, met die boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Ons is daarmee gebore, die taal waarvoor ons staan, dit vloei deur ons are, ons kinders praat het saam, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou sy, met die boodskap daarby, en waar jy is. Dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou sy, met die boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, en Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir my mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down.
Alright, here we are, folks.
Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that St. Simon's down in Boulders. Folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. I see danger in your eyes. Robin Houston there with Light It Up, our theme song to start the program off. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Thursday, March 7th, 2024. This is Chris coming to you live from central Pennsylvania. Well, busy day yesterday. I had surgery yesterday. Nothing to fear, just minor outpatient surgery, something that I've needed to have for a couple years. Finally got it taken care of yesterday. No ill effects so far, although the stitches I had to put a bandage over, and the bandage is kind of annoying. But yeah, so that was yesterday. Also did a little bit of campaign work yesterday, got some more yard signs up. So thanks to the folks. Met a really lovely lady yesterday who'd asked to meet me, and so I went and met her and her husband. Very lovely people. They just really restore my faith in America. Hardworking farm folk who are doing their best to keep food on the table for others. It's just really rewarding to meet Americans of that ilk. Anyway, folks, we've got a lot to talk about today. First off, programming announcement. After this broadcast, if you hang around to the end, you'll be automatically redirected to the subsequent broadcast talking about the Mkhonto we Sizwe Party acolytes threatening to torch South Africa, threatening violence if Jacob Zuma and the MK Party are not on the ballot from the IEC. The IEC admonishing the MK Party for the utterances of those folks. We're going to talk a little bit about that in this broadcast. We're also going to talk about news from across South Africa. Quite a bit of news. A lot of it pretty sad. We do have one exciting announcement. Faf de Klerk and his lovely wife have welcomed the birth of their child. That's some good news for somebody. We'll talk about that briefly too. Let me go ahead and say hello to everyone in the chat and welcome folks. Some folks here in Pennsylvania discovering the channel because they're learning about my candidacy and they're curious, what does this OCAV have to say? Now, for those of you who follow the channel or got notifications for the handful get notifications from YouTube, you will have noticed that I just posted a video about Joe Biden. President Joe Biden lying and spreading fairy tales about Donald Trump. Donald Trump will end abortion with a nationwide ban. Donald Trump has no such authority, nor do you, Joe Biden, either to approve or disapprove to permit or ban abortion. You have no authority. The federal government has no dog in this fight. So Joe Biden's typical lies, the leftists do this all the time, but people on the right do lies as well. But the point is, I did a video for this channel, also made a separate one for my campaign page on the Facebook. And my apologies to those trying to find me on the web. Being let down by my provider. Still don't have my campaign webpage set up. It was supposed to be up last week. And I went yesterday to check on it, still not done, and it wasn't done this morning. I'm starting to get a little bit torqued about that progress. Hopefully that'll get done soon. Got good people working on it, but I'm not sure it's their fault. It might be the provider that's doing it. Whatever the case is, let me say hello. Dylan Combrick is here at the outset, and my timestamps are not on. Why does it do that? Leave that on by default. Dylan Combrick is here at the beginning, and then Teresa David, welcome David, Nick Muller, Ulrich Fenter's here, Ken Ernsten, almost Lecker Freitag. Yeah, we're getting close to Friday. And this weekend we have Six Nations. I'll be covering the Scotland and the Ireland games. Scotland will be taking on Italy. Should be an easy victory for them. And then Ireland will be taking on England. This is one time I'm probably actually hoping that England wins. I have to take a look and see if that will keep Ireland from winning this thing. But I don't think they're going to stop them. So greetings to all. What are the condolences? Garrett says close friend passed away today. Yeah, I saw your notes, Garrett. I wasn't sure to respond. You're all over the place. Apologies for being confused by your messages, but smooth sailing and fair winds and smooth sailing to your friend as he passes on. Sorry to hear that. Sue Walsh is here. Then we've got Brian Lawrenson. Garrett, of course, I just said Jan Fillon's here. Ashley Engelbrecht is back again. Fleshen's in from the 15-minute city of Oxford. Rainier Dutoy is here. Welcome to Rainier. And then Mark Sayers. Welcome, Mark. And Sedgefield's back. Good to see Sedgefield. And who else have I missed here? Anybody else? Steve Barham is here. Welcome. Erica. There's Erica. And Paulie. Facts in the Row video you just did. Yeah, exactly. Nothing but facts. No emotion there. I didn't, call Joe names. I didn't call Trump names. I just simply laid out the facts and said that this is just a fairy tale. It's a lie. Boita Boer, outfiltrationist. Welcome to you. Okay. And, there's Rainier Detroit's membership. Thank you for your membership, Rainier. I appreciate that. You've been a member for the longest time. That's the universe. That's the galaxy. It's the Milky Way. You have the Milky Way. It's under your control now. Good evening. It's things are going well there. Boer, and then who else we got there? Christoph Havanga is back. Good to see you, Christoph. Seen you recently. Alan Kotz is here. Vilma Erasmus. Charles Van Onselen, the voice of reason here. And who else we got? Willy Dalf from Memel. What? Willy Dalf, are you from Memel? As in Memeland? As in former German territory? Now under the control of others? Is that the Memel you're talking about? Wow. Well, looks like a German name, Willy Dalf. Willy, I'm curious. Inquiring minds want to know. Hendo's here. And then we've got also, by the way, I'm going to reach out to Devin Hofmeyer and try to get him on the program sometime soon. He's joined the United Independent Movement. Kind of caught off guard by that. They didn't give me a heads up on that. Oh, there's a Memel in the Free State. Okay, well, all right, there you go. All right, I didn't know there was a Memel in the Free State. Wow. Memeland, of course, was one of the territories that Hitler demanded in the 1930s and got control of, taken away from Lithuania, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, all right, so thank you for that. In Sedgefield. I know. All right, well, welcome, everybody. So a lot of news to get through, as usual. Some of them I'll give you analysis. Others I'll just tell you about the headlines and the stories, and we'll move through this. And then we're going to move on to the next broadcast. So if you stick around, you'll be automatically redirected. Hopefully get a large audience for that. We're going to talk about that situation. Anyway, listen, before we go any further, let me just say this again. Ladies and gentlemen, for all of those of you who are interested in my campaign to run for office and have been very receptive when I've spoken to people, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It is humbling. And also for all of those of you who've been watching my content, whether you're new to the program or you've been with us through the YouTube censorship and the harassment, the unjust and illegitimate censorship that destroyed the original channel, which still has 20,000 subscribers and it's back on the air, but I use it rather judiciously because I'm terrified that they're going to take it away. Plus, you know, they hide the channel so nobody finds it. But for all of you who've been watching my content for all this time, I am unbelievably grateful. It's a very humbling experience. I know a lot of YouTube content creators and people who use social media for journalism. Oftentimes they're grateful, but they don't often stop and thank their audience. And it's really something we should do. You know, thank you so much. Tucker Carlson gets hundreds of millions of views. I don't know if he thanks his audience, but I do thank my audience. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for your interaction, for your subscriptions. That's the most important factor for me is subscriptions and content viewed. The more content that's viewed, the more videos that are viewed, the more we get the word out about what's happening in the world and the fake legacy media that needs to be repudiated, as well as false politicians and those who are misleading us around the country. So Ivan Brink, welcome to you. Neil De Beer probably invited Devin to join when he participated. Could be true, Christoph. Yeah, because Neil was there. Yep. And the Outfiltration says YouTube equals YouBoob. Well, it definitely equals PooTube, that's for sure at times. But, ladies and gentlemen, still to this day in 2024, no one has replicated this business model that they have. It's an unbelievably successful business model when they aren't censoring people. Hi, all back on again. Was on the road for a few days. All right, good to see you there, Hester. I didn't know you were on the road. I thought you had some issues with your load shedding. Anyway, so it's been a crappy week here for the solar panels here in central Pennsylvania. My last decent day was on the 4th when I had 24, but that's not even a really good day. That's an okay day. The best day before that was 27. So March has been terrible. I've had a 25, a 27, and a 24. But other than that, I'm getting things like 4 kilowatt hours yesterday, not even a quarter of the energy I use every day. And today we're at 6.82 at 11:30, which is actually not that bad. The sun was out this morning and the clouds came back. You know, it's back and forth. But hey, solar photovoltaic, the answer to our energy crisis. Not true. Not true. If you live in the Sahara, perhaps. If you live in the Namib, Gobi, perhaps. Antarctica, yes. The Arctic, possibly. But not here in central Pennsylvania or in Germany or the UK, where it rains all the frickin' time. It rains all the frickin' time in those places. His Hendo is saying a typical copy. Is that what you're saying, copy? Okay. All right. So let's get to the news, folks. Again, thank you all for being here. My fingernail guy just got caught. What's going on there? Do I need a manicure? No. Okay. Yes, that's still the same, Chinese affliction that I had since December. But let's get to the news. Thank you for concern, but it's much better than it was. So, the Independent Electoral Commission has warned the MK party as Zuma loyalists threaten violence and attacks if the party is kept off the ballot. Well, that guy there, Bonkinkosi Kanyile, a gentleman who doesn't know what he wants to do, Mr. Fees Must Fall, I demand free education because I'm a privileged young black man, who joined the Patriotic Alliance in 2022, but now is with the MK party, really doesn't know what he wants to do. He just wants to get his hands on the tenders. That's what he wants. And we're not talking about chicken tenders, ladies and gentlemen. He wants his hands on the tenders. Yeah, no doubt about that. You think? Why else does he keep switching parties? So he can rise up the level? Pick a party and stick with it, brother. MK party member Visvin Reddy, who doubles as an ADC counselor in Durban, and party youth leader Bonginkosi Kanile were recorded seemingly attacking the courts and the Independent Electoral Commission. They've been warned by the IEC. We're going to talk extensively about that on the following video, so thanks for being here. South Africa is once again meddling in the affairs of the Middle East. South Africa, where 82 people are murdered each day, where the mother and boyfriend, the mother of Joshlin Smith, the little 6-year-old, all kinds of rumors circulating on that now, but now that they've been arrested, I suppose it's safe to talk about the allegations against them at this point. Joselyn Smith, gender-based violence, rapes, murders of young girls and women, albinos in South Africa sold and murdered and chopped apart for muti. I mean, what kind of country is this where they have officials in the ANC who believe in witchcraft and eat human flesh to ward off evil spirits? A sick country indeed. And we're allowing that in America with unfettered, illegal, criminal alien invasions, all sorts of unvetted, undocumented people coming to our country with all sorts of beliefs that are anathema to modern civilization. So South Africa, once again, sticking its nose, approaching the International Court of Justice. At this point, South Africa should be admonished for wasting the court's time. Their fraudulent claim of genocide struck down. Their fraudulent interference to demand that the court tell Israel to stop, which they have no authority to do, waste of time. And now they go back once again, sticking their nose in the business, distracting people from South Africa's crisis. South Africa asked the UN court to act as hunger worsens in Gaza. Again, they have no standing here. South Africa has requested the International Court of Justice call for an emergency order against Israel, saying Gazan children are starving to death. Ladies and gentlemen, I may be the first to point this out, but South African children are starving to death under the ANC. Just 2 years ago, 63 million rand from the national government handed down to the Nelson Mandela Bay municipality while it was run by the African National Congress. 63 million pounds, I wish it was pounds, rand, 63 million rand of money intended to feed infants and small children who are malnourished from the taxpayer, given by the national legislature, led by the ANC, given down to Nelson Mandela Bay. Returned to the government because they couldn't spend it. 15 toddlers and small infants starved to death. They didn't go hungry. They starved to death. The ANC has some cheek telling the UN to intervene in Gaza because children are starving when black South African children are starving in Nelson Mandela Bay, courtesy of the ANC. That is the epitome of cheek. The epitome of cheek. Unbelievable. The African National Congress has zero credibility on any issues before the International Court. Their racist policy against minorities in South Africa, their kleptocracy, their willful disregard for the rule of law. This is a distraction, and it must be called for what it is, a distraction. That story appears in the New York Times. Of course, they'll run an article about that. Well, the missing case, or the case of Joselyn Smith, the lovely little child who's been missing now for going on 2 weeks. Close family friend confirms that the mother, Kelly, is one of 4 suspects in the dock who appeared today. As Saldanha Bay residents continue to search for Joselyn Smith, a close family friend told News 24 the little girl's mother, Kelly, was one of 4 suspects expected to appear in the Vredenburg Magistrates Court today. Police spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Malcolm Poggi said that the authorities have been inundated with rumors, clues, hints, and vital information. Various items have been seized and sent to our laboratory for analysis, the results of which are not yet known. We are not at liberty to divulge further details pertaining to the investigation as it may jeopardize ongoing investigation. Fair enough for SAPS, but Joselyn Smith's mother was taken to court today and arraigned. 4 people arrested, and here they are appearing in the court. 4 people arrested in connection with the disappearance of Joselyn Smith, including her mother, Kelly Smith, and Jacqueline Apollos, appeared in the Vredenburg Magistrates Court, but their case was postponed. The charges against the 4 are trafficking in persons and kidnapping. They have officially been charged, and all 4 have been applied for legal aid. Their matter has been postponed to the 13th of March for bail information. Earlier this week, on Tuesday, a source revealed to the Independent Online that a suspect had been arrested after a confession. The suspect is understood to have told police that Joshlin was sold to a woman for 20,000 rand. Slavery or muti, which is it? Unbelievable. Now, that's unconfirmed. That's the media reporting that. They claim that they have a source who told them that. The police have made an arrest, including the mother and her boyfriend. Police have not responded to that claim. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is sick. Hundreds of people appeared outside the court baying for blood as the mother and the boyfriend were arraigned. You can see the massive crowd there. Hundreds turned outside the Vredenburg Magistrates Court baying for blood. The 6-year-old from Saldanha Bay went missing on February 19th. Joselyn's mother, Kelly Smith, her boyfriend, Joaquin Apollos, Stevino van Rijn, and alleged Sangoma Pumza Sigaga made a brief court appearance. Police were ready to move the accused, who were placed in police Nyala. The crowd outside grew rowdy and called for them to be handed over to the community. No, vigilantism is not the answer. Residents were shouting Kelly's name, stating she was a bad mother, and the rest are called not worthy of being called human. And there's Joselyn Smith. There's the mother. This is a sick story. Absolutely sick story. We've covered these stories, including the albino children. We saw the little girl who was albino, who was kidnapped in the Eastern Cape, and she was sitting for a baby. They assumed the baby was also an albino. This is a couple of years ago. When they got outside of the kraal, walking along with them, they saw that the baby was actually black, and they dumped it in a ditch. The baby died from exposure or drowning, and the little girl was fed antifreeze to make her pliant. She was murdered, butchered, chopped into pieces, and sold to black South Africans in Sandton. Sick, twisted country. Well, speaking of sick and twisted, there's no water for a lot of people in the High Veld. Joburg Water says system recovering after the Eichenhof outage, but some areas are still without water. Johannesburg Water said its systems are continuing to recover from the disruptive outage at the Rand Water's Eichenhof pump station. The city's entity is, however, projecting the complete recovery will take at least several days to a week. Some suburbs are still experiencing little to no water in their taps. Wow, South Africans paying for nothing. We must always prioritize the EFF. Once again, party over people in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. Party over people. Party over, because they are part of the sick people, menage a trois. That's why the government doesn't do anything. Let's be very clear about something. The ANC rose to power on the lie that it cared about black people and about freedom. And one man, one vote, free speech, and free relationships. 30 years have proven that that is simply a lie. The ANC is in power for itself. They don't care about black South Africans any more than they care about white, Indian, or colored South Africans. The only people that the African National Congress cares about are cadres, cadres, and their BEE patronage network. That's it. The people who can make them wealthy. And the only other time they care about black South Africans is in election time. That's when they care. Only to get their vote. They hoodwink them. It's the same in America and around the world. Politicians don't care about Americans, many of them. Some do, but they're a small minority. Most politicians are in office for self-aggrandizement, enrichment, or for fawning press, for their egos. But Joyce Malema says party over people. And we know that to be the case with the EFF because they don't care about people. He says Malema lays down law after members of parliament missed the Hlope vote. Now, they missed the Hlope vote a week ago, but he's still upset. Following a stir caused by the public apology of an EFF member of parliament who failed to attend the parliamentary sitting due to her 4-month baby being ill, EFF leader Joyce Malema said the organization must take priority over any member. So, the EFF could not have defeated this impeachment. He was going to lose even with the missing EFF members by a wildly large number. But they choose to publicly admonish members of their party because it's party over people. EFF member of parliament Naledi Chinwa was directed to publicly apologize after she missed the impeachment vote for the former Western Cape judge John Hlope, who years ago Julius Malema said was crooked and should not be in office. And now he's defending him. Yeah, she was also directed to purchase 2 gazebos before March 28th and to apologize publicly. The EFF is selling its own branded gazebos for 5,000 Rand each. Now, how is that even legal? How can the party force her to buy election campaign material? Does that not violate IEC regulations and South African campaign finance law? You're directing a member of your party to buy your campaign material? I don't know that that's even legal. Is it? Someone tell me. Wow. Build One SA leader Musi Maimani, former DA leader, has called out Julius Malema. Yep. So, Malema defends the movement from rubbish. A cold shoulder given to Chinua. The letter's inappropriate insinuations have forced our movement into a defensive stance, detracting our members from the immediate task of doing door-to-door campaigning because they must now defend their movement from rubbish. Wow. This is how Julius Malema treats black women. Black women with small infants 4 months old who are ill, that's how he treats them in a vote that would not matter. She wasn't on vacation in Mauritius. She wasn't lapping it up at Kruger National Park. She was attending to her sick child, and she informed the party, but not the chief whip. So she's being admonished and publicly embarrassed. This is how Julius Malema treats women. Calling her rubbish. Wow. She's been an MP since 2019. Among several members of Parliament instructed public apologize for not attending. She failed to report her absence to the EFF chief whip and instead reported it to the party. She did report her absence, just did it incorrectly. Wow. She was instructed to buy 2 EFF branded gazebos for 10,000 Rand. She says, I do not doubt my commitment to the movement of the people and the responsibility we have been entrusted with in Parliament. This is the reason why I went to maternity leave a day before I gave birth, instead of taking it sooner, and returned 2 months before the lapse of my maternity leave. So she gave up 2 months of her maternity leave to be in Parliament, and this is how she's treated by the misogynist Julius Malema. The misogynist Julius Malema. The misogynist Julius Malema. Paying attention, black women? Are you listening, black women? White women? Brown women? While some people applauded the party for ensuring accountability, others deemed the sanctions against her extreme and not aligned with principles of Pan-Africanism. What does it have to do with Pan-Africanism? It has to do with humanity. It's nonsense. Malema was not happy with the letter. Yep. The letter's inappropriate insinuations have forced our movement into a defensive stance. Shut up, Juju. Wow. Unbelievable. Yeah, joining the debate, political analyst Ongama Mtika said the letter debacle might not end well, as some people believe that Chirwa could lose her job or not make it back to Parliament after the elections this year. Foolish move loading, resurrecting a dying matter by giving it an explosive twist. Reacting, I had successfully stayed out of the letter debate as I was grappling with the free will of the organization to rightfully demand organizational discipline in general versus specific circumstances of a mother. But now that Juju's signaling salvo has landed, I cannot be quiet, he said. Atukuleki. I cannot be silent. Cannot be quiet. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, yeah, stupid mistakes here. So, good. The EFF is also making dumb mistakes. Well, police are still searching for the kidnapped kids from the high school in Brits. Zara Mohammed and Batavia Mohammed abducted in a movie-style kidnapping. We reported on this yesterday. The 17 and 19-year-old are missing. Unfortunately, the situation is still the same, said the police spokesman. On Wednesday, Northwest Police in Brits launched a search of 3 unknown assailants following the alleged kidnapping. I'll tell you what, folks, if you're an Indian in South Africa, I'd have armed guards for my kids and for my person, because they are targeting Indians, assuming that they have money. Especially in places where there's low density of Indians like Northwest. They're coming after people. eThekwini, ANC secretary and bodyguard are in court for alleged reckless driving in an unregistered car. eThekwini ANC secretary Musa Nki was appearing before the Durban Magistrates Court for alleged reckless driving in an unlicensed, unregistered vehicle. He was arrested along with his bodyguard, Ivan Koza, and another person in Durban North on Thursday night. That must be last week. Can't be tonight. They were granted $5,000 bail. Their lawyer opposed the media application for the case to be covered, but his request was shot down. So their lawyer tried to cover up their alleged crimes from the public because they're ANC politicians. Yeah, I love how that works. Cape Town has a 500 million Rand housing project but it's run into trouble because the construction mafia has been attacking the people working on it. City of Cape Town's $500 million housing project in Symphony Way, Delft, faces a setback as contractors terminate the agreement due to ongoing extortion and unrest. Carl Popheim, the city's MMC for Human Settlements, confirmed the termination, citing the construction mafia and ongoing extortion as reasons. The murder of city official Wendy Kloppers prompted the contractors' withdrawal from the site. Wow. Since the increase in the construction mafia activities and constant intimidation and extortion that took place at the housing development, the city became very involved in contract negotiations due to the adverse effects it was having on the respective contractor. Kloppers was in her vehicle at a project in Delft in February last year when she was shot dead. Her murder is believed to have been the latest in a string of attacks by the construction mafia. Kloppers worked at the city's Environmental Affairs Department, and the city initially offered 100,000 rand for any information. It's since been increased to 1 million. My goodness. The massive ACSA Symphony Way housing project is meant to yield 3,300 state-subsidized breaking new ground units. So you can't even build houses for people because criminals want their cut. Unbelievable. Boy to boy infiltrationist. I've already commented on that. Please remind me when I finish the news. Bring that topic back about the DRC, and I'll talk about it again. Got a lot of news to get through. Rape, torture, and murder. A night of fun turns tragic after a Volteen is allegedly tubed to death. My goodness. Relabolile Mofokeng was tortured and suffocated. What started as a night of fun for three couples who partied and drank booze and a concoction of codeine-laced cough syrup and soft drinks known as lean ended in tragedy. One of the men allegedly raped a woman and tortured another to death. The 28-year-old accused, who cannot be identified because he's not pled to the rape charge he's facing, was arrested after he handed himself over to the police on Sunday. The accused girlfriend was arrested on Tuesday in connection with the murder. Rolebohile Mofokeng, 19, was collected from her home in Sebokeng for an evening of booze and fun. 12 hours later, she was dead. According to a source in the close investigation, the accused blamed her for the theft of 2,000 rand and then allegedly assaulted her and suffocated her until she stopped breathing. My goodness, this is how do people, who raises people with so little value for human life? Maybe he should suffer the same fate. Yeah, it's a bunch of sad news. Here's more sad news. The Steve Biko disaster of a hospital. Nurses suspended, probing a death into alleged negligence that led to a black man's death. More misery for black South Africans at the hands of the ANC. The Gauteng Department of Health has suspended 5 nurses from the Steve Biko Academic Hospital pending an investigation into allegations of gross negligence. Incident occurred last month, was captured on video and widely circulated in social media. Shows a man seated on the floor as people around him call nurses to help. The people can be heard accusing a nurse of being on her cell phone, ignoring the seemingly distressed man. Help, help. I said, help this person. Help this person. I said, help him. You're busy on your phone. A person is dying in front of us. You're busy on your phone. Do your job. Yeah. The incident came amid initiatives to revive the hospital's service delivery protocols and standards of staff engagement with patients. So they released a media statement about the suspension. I saw that video. The man appeared to be naked in the video I saw, and he was ignored by staff. Don't know what led to his demise. Johannesburg water woes, as I mentioned, businesses and schools suffer as the system is slowly recovering. Look at people carting water there outside of ShopRite. Joburg water prediction that it could take a week for water to recover is like a dagger in the heart of small businesses trying to survive in what is meant to be the country's economic capital. But of course, Gauteng is a place where Bree Street blows up. Remember that? Bree Street blowing up in Johannesburg. You know, I saw a nice post on Twitter where people said that, you know, when white South Africans yearn for South Africa of old, they're not yearning for apartheid. They're yearning for clean streets, law and order, and respect for society, which was present back in those days. Mapisa Nkula, the former defense minister accused of corruption and Speaker of Parliament. The DA says she broke public trust and acted selfishly in this bribery complaint. National Assembly Speaker Nosisivwe Mapisa Nkula broke the public's trust and put her own interest above that of the electorate when she allegedly accepted bribes to the tune of 2.3 million rand while she was defense minister. The DA laid a complaint against her in Parliament's Joint Committee on Ethics and Members' Interest, which means that she's probably appearing in the top 100 of ANC members of Parliament. Yeah, but News 24 said that the ANC is earnestly working on that list. Of course, it includes Andile Lungisa, a thug criminal who violently assaulted a fellow member of the Nelson Mandela Bay Council and was convicted of that crime. Well, congratulations. Some good news finally, folks. We can take off, get the sad news away. Good news. Good news. Faf de Klerk, the little bulldog scrum half for the Springboks who plays in Japan, and his lovely wife have welcomed the arrival of their first child. There you go. Here's a lovely photo of the two. Springbok rugby player Francois Faf de Klerk and his wife Mine welcomed their first child. Congratulations to the couple. Yep, they announced the arrival of the first child in a joint post on Instagram yesterday. They shared pictures of them holding their baby, Remy Ray, who was born on February 27th. Why you wait so long to tell us that, Faf? That's some good news, man. We need good news. Sudan's war risking a major escalation of crisis of the world's largest hunger crisis, according to the World Food Program. Sudan's war has shattered millions of lives and created the world's largest displacement crisis. Now the catastrophe also risks becoming the world's largest hunger crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, what did I start this program off with? I said the ANC is going once again to the International Court of Justice, claiming that Israel is starving Gazans. Starving Gazans. Meanwhile, Sudan's military junta is starving Sudanese. Right here in Africa, right on the shores of the continent, the lovely dark continent. Why is the ANC not taking Sudan to the International Court of Justice? Why is the ANC not publicly castigating Sudan in the African Union? Why is the ANC silent on the genocide of the Rohingya in Myanmar, of the Uyghurs in China, and of Sudanese? Ask yourself this question, because the ANC is illegitimate. They're frauds. They are liars. That's what they are. World's largest hunger crisis, people starving in Sudan, while the ANC and the African Union do jack squat. Jack squat. The Biden regime, jack squat. Appointing a new special envoy, that's not accomplishing anything. Doing nothing to stop this crisis. Except this, they're trying to prevent someone from buying weapons. A South Sudanese activist, that's not in Sudan, this is in South Sudan, so it's a neighboring country. South Sudan activist Peter Biar Ajak is arrested for trying to smuggle weapons. Well, he's been arrested and charged in the United States for attempting to smuggle weapons worth $4 million into South Sudan. The United States Department of Justice said Tuesday that the 40-year-old and his compatriot Ibrahim Chol Keech were facing charges of conspiring to purchase and illegally export millions of dollars worth of military-grade weapons to South Sudan. They wanted to export the arms under a false contract. Exporting the weapons of any type to South Sudan is illegal under the United Nations Security Council arms embargo, as well as two U.S. laws, the Arms Export Control Act and the Export Control Reform Act. Well, the UN Security Council placed an embargo to slow down the civil war, but it still continues. So, this activist is sending arms to South Sudan. Senegal finally moving forward with this election after Macky Sall suspended elections. They are set to hold elections, but it's confusing because Macky Sall said it will take place on one date and the government said another date. So by the end of March, we should see an election taking place in Senegal, probably the last day of the month, based on the news reports. Well, more criminals, lawless criminals in Nigeria, this time kidnapping more people, most likely, one guess, don't know if they're Muslim or Christian, but more have been kidnapped. Suspected Islamic insurgents kidnapped 50 people, mostly women in northeastern Nigeria this week. Local officials and a resident told the news on Wednesday. The latest mass abduction by these fighters have waged insurgency for more than a decade. Boko Haram and the Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP fighters have mainly operated in Borno in the northeast, targeting security forces and civilians in the process, killing and displacing tens of thousands of people. The latest incident took place on Monday in a remote Gambaru area, which shares the border with Chad and Cameroon. Well, that's the area where the task force is supposed to be operating to stop Boko Haram. So what's going on there? What is going on there? Well, another World Rugby official calls it quits. Another one. We've already seen Jaco Piper and Wayne Barnes and others calling it quits. Yet another World Rugby World Cup match official has decided to follow the likes of Wayne Barnes, Jaco Piper, Tom Foley, and Joy Neville in announcing their retirement. Top New Zealand referee Brendan Pickerel is hanging up his whistle and will officiate his final game this weekend, the Super Rugby Pacific clash between Moana Pacifica and the Melbourne Rebels. Wow. After 150 first-class matches, including 10 test matches, 60 Super Rugby matches, and 58 NPC matches, Brendan Pickrell has made the tough decision to hang up his whistle. Known for his consistency and proficiency and calm nature on the pitch and his professionalism and passion off the pitch, we wish Brendan well in his next adventure. Pickrell featured the 2019 World Cup as an assistant referee and 4 years later was included as a TMO in the 2023 World Cup, holding the role for 7 matches, including the semifinals between England and South Africa. He's just one of 5 of New Zealand's full-time professional rugby referees. That's going to come as a shock to New Zealand. So, Brendan Pickrell hangs up his whistle just like Jaco Piper and Wayne Barnes and Joy Neville. Wow, what's going on in World Rugby? Ramadan is upon us, folks. The annual celebration for Muslims around the world, the dawn to dusk fast. It lasts anywhere from 12 to 17 hours, depending where you find yourself, how close to the equator you are. The further north you are, the less sunlight you get this time of year, so it works out pretty well, depending on where in the world you live. So the Muslim holy month of Ramadan begins on March 11th or on March 12th, depending on the sighting of the new moon. The dawn to dusk fast lasts anywhere from 12 to 17 hours, depending on where you are. Muslims believe that Ramadan is a month when the first verses of the holy book Quran were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad more than 1,400 years in the world's most junior major religion. The upstart Islamic faith came long after Judaism and Christianity. Well, Hamas, not interested in peace, has walked away from peace negotiations in Cairo. Yes. Hamas delegation left Cairo today, but will continue with Gaza ceasefire talks until an agreement is reached with Israel, the Palestinian group said in a statement. Hamas delegation left Cairo this morning for consultation with the leadership of the movement and with negotiations efforts continuing to stop the aggression, return the displaced, and bring in relief aid to our people. But how are you continuing negotiations when your entire team left? No one stayed behind in Cairo. Well, China, someone liked my comment on the Wall Street Journal. I commented on the Wall Street Journal. China intensifies the push to delete America from its technology. More illegal World Trade Organization rule violations by China trying to protect its IT industry and exclude American information technology companies from access. These are violations of international trade agreements. These are violations of the World Trade Organization, and China should be kicked out of the World Trade Organization. That'll never happen, but it should happen. American tech companies, the writing is on the wall. It's also in Document 79. The 2022 Chinese government directive expands a drive muscling U.S. technology out of the country. Yes, some refer to it as Delete A, as in Delete America. So sensitive was this document that they didn't want people to know about it, but it's out there now. The first targets by the Chinese government were Dell, IBM, and Cisco. And they've seen much of their equipment replaced by Chinese equipment as the Chinese government violates international agreement, the World Trade Organization, and they should be sanctioned. They should be sanctioned. Well, China's foreign minister makes derogatory comments about the U.S. Bring it on, Chi-Coms. Wang Yi chides Europe and warns about trajectory of war in Ukraine. China's foreign minister painted the U.S. as a paranoid superpower and criticized Europe's policy toward Beijing as increasingly muddled. In a 90-minute press conference, Foreign Minister Wang Yi warned of a possible escalation of the war between Russia and Ukraine, celebrated the close ties between Beijing and Moscow, and echoed recent comments by Vladimir Putin about the risk of a protracted conflict. Who else told you about a protracted conflict? That'd be me on February 22nd of 2022, when I told you the war would last 3 to 5 years minimum. Wang, a strident diplomat known for his at times hawkish views, saved his sharpest barbs for the U.S. after acknowledging some progress in improving U.S. ties since November. But he says, where's the confidence of a great power if the U.S. grows anxious when it hears the word China? And by the same token, where is the confidence in the efficacy and the competitiveness of the Chinese economy by the Chinese communists when they have to write Document 79 to intentionally prevent American technology from having any marketplace role in China? You are the paranoid superpower, China, not us. We just have a muddled, incompetent, diaper-wearing fool who can't climb a flight of stairs currently in charge of our country because of events in 2020, which I can't speak openly, fairly, legitimately, and honestly about on this censorship platform, so I will leave it at that. Norway and the Sami people, you know the Sami people, with the reindeers, yep. Norway and the Sami end a dispute over Europe's largest onshore wind farm. Norway on Wednesday reached an agreement with the Sami people ending a nearly 3-year dispute over Europe's largest onshore wind farm and the indigenous right to raise reindeer. Under the agreement, the partially state-owned farm's 151 turbines stay in operation. Energy Minister Terje Asland said the deal includes a future-oriented solution that safeguards reindeer farming rights. The agreement also has compensation for the Sami, including a share of energy produced, along with the new area for winter grazing and a grant of 5 million kroner for strengthening Sami culture. That's just a token payment of $473,000. In Norway, $473,000 is like having $37 US. Have you been in Norway? A Big Mac is $40. Good loss. Yeah, no, they're not Eskimos. The Speaker of the 39-seat Sami Parliament, C.A. Karina Mutoka, said there's reason to believe that the violation of human rights has been brought to an end and that the agreement lays foundation for the violation of human rights to be repaired. We'll see. We'll see. So the Sami reached an agreement with Norway. Congratulations to this indigenous group of people in Norway. Well, German manufacturing orders collapsing, fell once again. More than expected back in January. German manufacturing orders sank in January by the more than expected, offsetting much of the uptick from December. Orders were 11.3% lower than the month prior. German Stats Office Des Status said today, considerably more than the 6% fall expected by economists, polled by the Wall Street Journal. So what's going on there? What's going on there? In his State of the Union or disunion, Joe Biden will cheer the economy and draw a contrast with Donald Trump. I don't know what planet he's living on. Cheer the economy? What do you got to cheer about here, man? Gasoline still $3 something a gallon, $3.69 a gallon. It was $1.89 when Trump was in office. A basket of groceries cost me $600 a month instead of $250, which it was before Biden. Yeah. What economy is he cheering on? Allies are pushing the president to do more to sell skeptical voters on his economic record and attack his likely Republican rival on tax policy. Biden enters the State of the Union speech on Thursday with an economic record that has defied forecasters' gloomy expectations as the New York Times carries the water with its propaganda story here by Jim Tankersley. Avoiding recession while delivering stronger growth and lower unemployment than predicted. Well, yeah, sure. As AOC says, when people have to work 2 jobs, to make ends meet. Of course, she was wrong because she thought it was about inflation. Anyway, about the unemployment rate, I should say. Biden hails crime decrease, but the numbers tell a very violent story. South Africa is the future for America. We see this in race relations and the distortion of the truth. We see this in fees must fall and student loan debt. We see this in Black Lives Matter. We see this in expropriation of property. We see it in everything. Every evil from South Africa is coming to the shores of America. It's just a few years delayed. And here's the latest. Joe Biden lying about crime statistics. Yep. President Biden plans to celebrate large drops in crime during his State of the Union address, but doesn't reflect on experiences people live in Washington, D.C., Memphis, and Dallas, among other places. Yeah, the progress that he's claiming is a fiction. It's a lie. It does not go to pre-pandemic levels. This is a drop in crime from a rise in crime during Biden's regime. Yep. So, in the past week, Biden has gotten the offensive against Republican state Democrat policies that have sparked a national crime wave. Yep. The crux of his argument is that crime analysis by age analytics revealed an 11.8% drop in homicides from 2022 to 2023. Again, not a legitimate number. This is during his regime. He needs to compare this to a previous time. Yep. But here you go. According to the council's analysis, violent crimes follow the same pattern. Gun assaults were down 10%, but were 42% higher than they were in 2019. Aggravated assaults were down by 3% from last year, but are up 8% from 2019. Carjacking declined 9% from 2022 to 23, but they're up 93% since 2019. Is the White House putting out correct crime statistics? Is the correct based on the substack of data that his individuals put together for 2023? Is it a full picture of crime in the United States? No. University of Miami criminology professor Alex Picaro, the former director of the Bureau of Justice Statistics under Biden. Wow. So, this is crazy. This is crazy. So the Biden regime is going to claim tonight that crime has fallen. Well, that's simply a lie. It rose dramatically under Joe Biden's feckless regime, and it's declined in the past year. Well, in an opinion piece in the New York Post, they claim that Joe Biden looks like a loser on the eve of his State of the Union address. There's a creepy video of Joe Biden this week in which he gets right in the face of a reporter who dares ask about his catastrophic poll numbers, and then he flat out lies. He did. I saw this. As if the presidential vehemence can overwhelm the truth. The president was about to board Air Force One for another 4-day weekend at Camp David. A 4-day weekend. There's no federal holiday this weekend, so why does he get a 4-day weekend? There's no federal holiday. Taking a 4-day weekend. Joe's taking a lid. What's your message for Democrats who are concerned about your poll numbers? He was asked by a reporter. Biden squinted and frowned before leaning into the lie. The last 5 polls you guys don't report. I'm winning 5 in a row. I'm winning 5 in a row. Bold-faced lie. Every one of those polls, Joe Biden is underwater. So what's he been smoking at Camp David, says the op-ed. His kingdom of lies is crumbling. Americans belated waking up to the border disaster he inflicted on the country, the rancor and division he stoked, the preposterous wokery he imposed on every corner of government, the incompetence, the wars, the Bidenomics that translate into empty wallets. Almost 2/3 of voters think the country is headed in the wrong direction, according to the latest New York Times Siena College poll. One of 4 bad polls over the last weekend that showed the stubborn verdict of the country is against Biden. Yeah, but he says in the top 5 polls. It's not the first time he's been gaslighting reporters about his horrible poll numbers. Do Biden staffers encourage these fantasies by giving him pretend polls? Maybe his choice of breakfast TV explains his delusional thinking. Reportedly, he just loves MSNBC's Morning Joe. Tainted Joe. You can see from why the small sample of Joe Scarborough's pungent political analysis. I can understand Biden when I say he was cogent. He was better than he's ever been. F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second, and I've known him for years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. Joe Scarborough is nothing but a lying hack, and we know that. Oh, my goodness. Well, ladies and gentlemen, crime has gotten so bad as a consequence of the lawlessness, the no bail, the release of violent criminals back into the street right after they assault police, rape women, and murder New Yorkers by the corrupt prosecutors in New York City and the criminal alien invaders who are targeting New Yorkers and tourists, that the corrupt governor of New York, I stumbled into the job because Governor Grope-a-Lot can't grab women anymore, Andrew Cuomo. Kathy Hochul is deploying the National Guard to New York City to stop a crime wave. But they deny there's a crime wave. Isn't it? On the day that Joe Biden is going to tell us in his State of the Union address that violent crime is down, the governor of New York must send National Guardsmen to fight crime in New York City. Snake Plissken, where are you? Governor Kathy Hochul sending National Guard members to New York City subways to combat ongoing crime. No one heading to their job or visit a family or go to a doctor should worry about a person sitting next to them possesses a deadly weapon. A deadly weapon. That's where it's going. She's worried about deadly. It's not deadly weapons. People worried about being beaten in the streets, beaten over the deadly weapon, the bottles picked up off the rubbish laying in the street, not picked up by the trash collectors in New York. You don't need a deadly weapon. She's talking about guns, but it's not about guns. It's about violent behavior in Gotham City. A series of recent high-profile crimes in New York City subway have prompted Governor Kathy Hochul, the fraud, on Wednesday to send National Guard members into the sprawling underground network. She's ordering a force of 1,750 Guard members, state police, and transit officers to conduct bag checks. So they're going to do unreasonable search and seizure now. They're going to check people's bags on the basis of what? Without a warrant. Without a warrant. Violation of the Fourth Amendment. Welcome to Gotham City, folks, where the rule of law does not apply, where criminal alien invaders run wild and rampant in the streets, where veterans are kicked out of their housing to accommodate criminal alien invaders, where Donald Trump is charged, convicted before going to trial by a corrupt judge, and then hit with a $353 million fine for conducting business the way the business is done under the law. This is a jurisdiction that is lawless and out of control. All these people need to be hauled before courts and prosecuted for their crimes against New Yorkers and against this country. Unbelievable. Hochul said her effort is intended to rid our subways of people who commit crimes and protect all New Yorkers, whether you're a commuter or transit worker. How about you talk about the Asian hate crime from the black woman who struck a cellist in the back of the head with a bottle for no reason whatsoever, and your corrupt criminal justice system released that felon assailant onto the street the same frickin' day? How about that, Kathy Hochul? How about that, Alvin Bragg? How about that, Mayor Eric Adams? My goodness. Well, the Securities Exchange Commission approves a ridiculous ruling which will have the effect of law because of the failure of Congress to do its job and abrogate its responsibility by handing it off to places like the EPA, the SEC, and others. This will have a chilling effect on business here in America and further cripple. We need Donald Trump back in office as soon as possible to strike down these idiotic rules that are crippling our businesses and allowing foreign nationals to take over our country. Security Exchange Commission approves a rule requiring some companies to report greenhouse gas emissions. Legal challenges loom. Yeah, you're damn skippy there, looming. United States Securities Exchange Commission yesterday approved a rule that will require some public companies to report their greenhouse gas emissions and climate risk after last-minute revisions that weakened the directive in the face of strong pushback from companies. Yeah, there'll be strong pushback, and this will be removed once this criminal regime is removed from Washington at the ballot box. If it's not, it's the death of America. It's the death of America, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we've talked about Claudine Gay and the corrupt Harvard University and its racist, anti-Semitic policies and its misuse of donor funds and its endowment. And we know just how corrupt Harvard is. But now even more corruption is surfacing as a key member of the board of directors has gotten $42 million. Wow, talk about conflict of interest. Do we have a conflict of interest here? Top Harvard official accused of ethics breach over $42 million paid to his own law firm. One of Harvard's former top officials was named in 2 ethics complaints over the Ivy League college paying his law firm $42 million while he served on the school's governing board. William Lee and Harvard University could face an investigation by a Massachusetts Attorney General over whether the school was right to pay his firm Wilmer Hale between 2011 and 2022 when he was serving as one of the school's most senior leaders. The Post has learned the Massachusetts Board of Bar Overseers and the state's attorney general have been sent formal complaints accusing Lee of possible conflict of interest by trustee director with pecuniary interest in service providers to Harvard. Yeah, another criminal. Yeah. Or a suspected criminal, we should say. Lee's most recent work for Harvard included helping former fraud, well, still a fraud, Claudine Gay prepare for her disastrous appearance before a congressional committee probing anti-Semitism. Yeah, so Wilmer Hale served as Harvard's outside counsel in the landmark affirmative action case Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard, which was filed in 2014. And he was outside counsel. So talk about the fox in the henhouse. You are a senior member of the board and you're receiving $42 million in compensation for your company. This is how corrupt these people are. They are so corrupt. Speaking of corruption, Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs, is she a legitimate governor? One wonders. She has vetoed a bill which would make it a crime to illegally enter Arizona from a foreign country. What kind of moron does this? Senate Bill 1231 would have allowed state officials to fine and imprison illegal immigrants entering the state from Mexico. Arizona's Governor Katie Hobbs has vetoed a bill that would have made border crossing a state crime. Wow. Republican State Senator Janae Shamp sponsored the bill, which makes it unlawful for a person who is an alien illegal immigrant to enter Arizona from a foreign nation to any location other than the lawful port of entry. So Arizona doesn't have a law against people violating its sovereignty, and Katie Hobbs thinks that's okay. Do you see the rot here? This woman must be impeached forthwith. Forthwith. Impeachment. Well, profound damage to his brain as a consequence of grenade explosions. That's what the case is after examining the brain of the shooter in Maine, the person who the Army sent for mental evaluation, and then the state authorities put back on the street and refused to take his firearms away, knowing the man had brain damage and mental psychosis. New York Times reports that a laboratory found a pattern of cell damage that's been seen in veterans exposed to weapons blasts and said it probably played a role in the symptoms that the gunman displayed before the shooting. Once again, they want to take our guns away, but instead they fail to uphold the law with someone who had clear mental issues. Specialized laboratory examining the brain of a gunman who committed Maine's deadliest mass shooting found profound brain damage of the kind that has been seen in veterans exposed to repeated blasts from weapons use. The gunman, Robert Card, was a grenade instructor in the Army Reserve in 2023. After 8 years of being exposed to thousands of skull-shattering blasts on the training range, he began hearing voices and was stalked by paranoid delusions. He grew increasingly erratic and violent in the months before the October rampage in Lewiston, where he killed 18 people and then himself. His brain was sent to the Veterans Affairs Laboratory in Boston. Interesting. Interesting. In July of 2022, the Army put Mr. Card into a psychiatric hospital for 2 weeks after he complained of hearing voices and made threats. Doctors at the hospital prescribed him lithium, but he was not assessed for traumatic brain injury. How does that happen? How does that happen? Well, Americans face decades in prison. Now, their actions are criminal. They shouldn't be doing this. But they want to put grandmothers in prison for 41 years for sitting in front of an abortion clinic trying to protect life. The world is upside down, folks. The world is upside down. This should be a misdemeanor trespassing violation. But instead, a bogus law passed in the 1990s by abortion ghouls will send a law-abiding citizen to jail for 41 years. It's a death sentence. A grandmother expects to serve more than 41 years in federal prison. Americans, this is insane. Absolutely insane. Heather Idoni picked up a phone receiver and punched in her inmate number and a keypad to activate it through the visitation window at Grayson County Detention Center. She had 15 minutes and she was cut off. The 59-year-old is getting used to this because she's facing more than 41 years in prison for the rest of her natural life. Her sentence is expected to be the longest in the United States for someone charged with violating the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, a 1994 law that prohibits interfering with anyone obtaining or providing reproductive health services. It was seldom used until the Supreme Court decision on Dobbs versus Jackson in June of 2022, which returned abortion regulation to the states. What was her crime? Sitting near or in front of the doors of abortion clinics to give sidewalk counselors a few moments to talk to women before their abortion appointments and potentially change their minds. Now, they shouldn't be doing this. It should be trespassing or harassment at worst. 9 women out of 10 gave them the middle finger and kept walking, Ms. Idoni said. But some women do change their mind. And sidewalk counselors say the life of every baby is worth the risk. But a decade or more in prison is an outcome she and other abortion rescuers didn't expect in post-Roe America. She says, I have young grandchildren. They're not going to have any memory of me. It's hard to think about. It's the most painful thing being separated from my young children who are growing so fast and I'm missing their lives. Before prison, she owned a bookstore in Michigan, mother of 16, including 10 orphan boys she adopted from Ukraine. In 2022, at least 26 pro-life activists were charged under this bogus law, and many now in prison or awaiting sentencing. Most were charged after June 2022 when Biden formed the Reproductive Rights Task Force. She was convicted in 2023 along with 4 other defendants in Washington of a FACE Act offense and a felony conspiracy against rights. Felony conspiracy against rights. That's what the federal government is doing against citizens right now, a conspiracy against rights. The group blocked the entrance to a late-term abortion business in 2020. The Department of Justice said the group entered the facility and blocked access using their bodies, furniture, chairs, and ropes, and then live streamed their activity on social media. They shouldn't have done that. The Department of Justice considered live streaming a felony conspiracy. Live streaming is a felony conspiracy. Wow. Where are the black helicopters? And it carries a 10-year penalty. The FACE violation adds another year. Sentencing is in May. But after her trial, she and 5 others were convicted of praying and singing hymns in the hallway of a now-closed abortion business in Tennessee. This will be considered a prior conviction and could add years to the sentence out of Washington. She awaits another trial for 2 FACE violations in Michigan. 41 years in prison for trying to save lives. The Tennessee case highlights how absurd the situation has become, using FACE in a weaponized fashion against pro-lifers, obviously are political opponents of this administration. Stephen Crampton, senior counsel for the Thomas More Society, said. To throw in that 10-year federal conspiracy charge in a case that, if you're just looking at it cold, is indistinguishable from civil rights sit-in. Exactly. It's no different than a civil rights sit-in. He should be arrested and charged. Mr. Crampton, in the Tennessee case, which was tried in Nashville, where in 1960 black citizens engaged in civil disobedience by sitting at lunch counters to protest racial segregation. There's a civil rights museum in the middle of the library across the street from where she did this protest. In the same breath, they make our clients martyrs because they engage in a sit-in not for advancing racial equality, but for trying to save the life of an unborn child. If that's not political, I don't know how else to describe it, he says. Wow. And so here are black citizens who staged a sit-in. The fact the government is picked, which causes to federalize and maximize prison sentences today for pro-lifers, but tomorrow maybe it's Greenpeace. Well, maybe it's PETA. And all of a sudden you're facing 11 years in jail because they don't like your cause. Wow. Sick federal government. The Congressional Black Caucus demands action. Racism again. Demands civil rights probe into states that shut down diversity, equity, and inclusion offices. Yep, once again, the Congressional Black Caucus discrediting itself demanded federal discrimination investigation into states that are moving to shut down diversity, equity, and inclusion offices in their public campuses. Well, diversity, equity, and inclusion are racist, and they're exclusionary, and they violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Therefore, the Congressional Black Caucus is full of it, and they're morally and legally wrong. But they want to race pedal. Well, Facebook and Instagram went down and the world went bonkers, man. Conspiracy theories on Super Tuesday. Was it shut down so people can't get information? Well, what happens? People use social media to post their stories. Now we can't post stories. Humans love stories. Social media platforms, the outage was short, but people's stories vanished, and that's no small thing, says the Associated Press. Oh, by Tipta Hajela and Wyatt Graham Phillips. Another hyphenated name. Once upon a time, there was a brief outage on some social media platforms. It got fixed. The end, on the face of it. Kind of a boring story. But the widespread attention given to the blanking of Meta's Facebook, Instagram, and Threads and Messenger on Tuesday suggests another, perhaps less obvious tale. One that shows that social media platforms, like the books or newspapers or insert medium here of other times in history, matter more than just being entertaining pastimes. Ooh, scary stuff. Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, the captured once prestigious objective news outlet, the captured Wall Street Journal says Americans want immigration bill to pass. That's not true. This is the media distorting the facts. Surveys find broad support for the kind of comprehensive immigration reform that has repeatedly failed in recent years, according to this article by Michelle Hackman and Aaron Zitner. This is not news. It's op-ed. So they tell this story. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous, folks. So, what I wrote in response 3 hours ago, that this is a total lie. What happened to the once objective Wall Street Journal? People want immigration reform? Nonsense. They only want what the media wants and when the political left want them to want. We have a perfectly effective system for immigration, one that leads to 700 to 900,000 foreign nationals becoming naturalized citizens annually, a system that allows millions of permanent green card holders to live here and to contribute to our society and economy. What we also have is a lot of liars and criminals in political office who refuse to enforce the law and then try to sneak in yet another amnesty for criminal alien invaders who willfully violate our sovereignty. That was my response to the Wall Street Journal. Dave McCormick, Republican Senate candidate in Pennsylvania, is still not known by about 30 or 40% of Pennsylvanians. That's not good. He's got a lot of work to do. He's zigzagging across Pennsylvania to make the case with his deep roots in the state. He should represent the Senate and get rid of Bob Casey. But the Philadelphia Inquirer tries to claim that he's a Connecticut resident without any facts. And then they admit that they're wrong in the story. Yeah, Dave McCormick, not known by a huge percentage of Pennsylvania's voting electorate, has his work cut out for him. But the good news for him is that 30-40% of Pennsylvanians don't even know who he is, and he's only 5 to 10 points behind Casey at this point, 8 months before the general election. So he's unopposed in the Senate race, so he'll be the Republican nominee on April 23rd. I don't know if I will be, but he will be, and we'll see what happens. U.S. solar installations reach a peak in 2023. For the first year, they surpassed everything else. U.S. solar industry added a record-shattering 32.4 gigawatts of new electric generating capacity in 2023, a 37% increase from the previous record set in 2021, and a 51% increase from 2022. That shows you that solar addition is like this, up and down. However, 32.4 gigawatts of power is more electricity than the entire Eskom grid can provide to South Africans at this moment. Solar photovoltaic panels in America. Well, ladies and gentlemen, social media is abuzz with Five Guys prices. And I got to tell you, they're right. It's expensive. Five Guys prices. Out of control, Five Guys prices ignite social media fervor after a $24 receipt for just a burger, fries, and a small drink goes viral. An uproar over pricey bacon cheeseburger and fries at Five Guys is causing quite the stir in social media. And many people are confused about why it costs $25 for a burger. One bacon cheeseburger, $12.49, a regular soda, $2.89, and one small fry, $5.19. That's $20.57, plus $1.34 in sales tax, makes it $21.94. And an automatic tip was put in by Five Guys. Why are you paying a tip when you are going to the counter, giving your order, and collecting your food on your own? Nobody's doing anything to deliver food to you. So let's just take a look at that total bill with taxes and the fake tip put in there. That times 19 means it would cost you 457 Rand to have a burger at Five Guys. I've been to Five Guys in like 2 years. I can't afford it. It's too expensive. Five Guys does not suck. Five Guys has the best burgers on the planet, Artie. You're smoking crack cocaine. You need to throttle down, lower your flaps, land safely, drink some water, and chill. Five Guys makes the best burgers on the planet, hands down, as long as they're warm. Yep. Anyway, of course, that's a matter of opinion. Arctic and I can disagree on that. All right, let's go back to the chat now. That's the main news stories I want to talk about today. Don't forget, in about 16 minutes, we're going to cover the MK party and its acolytes' threats against the Independent Electoral Commission in South Africa and the courts. Okay. Food Socks Company took hands with Tuckies, to provide healthy and affordable meals to students. I don't know what Christoph is talking about there. Martin Case here. Welcome, Martin. Leah Menar's here. Hey, Leah. Good to see you there. MK equals Mayor Cock Party. That's good. The Mayor Cock Party. Like that. I hadn't seen that before. Okay. Okay. That's where I was at in the chat. So, Christoph, I already saw that. Perhaps a company to reach out to for an interview in the near future. I don't know who Food Socks Company is. Let me go back. And what time did you do that? It was 11:24. So I got to go way back over here in my chat here. 11:24. Wow, we have got a lot of chat going here. I'm way behind. All right, so 11:24. Oh, still not there. Still not there. There it is. Food Sock. Took me a long time to get there. So copy. I can't copy it over here. It doesn't let me copy the text. I don't know why. So let me get up to speed over here in that window, which is the streaming software, and then I will save that text and I'll look them up. I never heard of them. Okay. Right. Ivan Brink, 20,000 Rand is nothing. Well, it's a lot to me, man. If there is a Sangoma involved, I fear for this child. Yes, Charles, I fear what's probably already happened. I'm not going to state it. How deeply dark do you have to be to sell your child? Well, Layla, it just shows that a lot of people shouldn't be parents. It's crazy. Light Rain says obesity is the most prevalent form of malnutrition with 1 billion affected. It's crazy. Too much food is killing more people than starvation. That's true. Little Miss Know-It-All is back. RJ's here. Minaj Kwa says, why doesn't the government do something about these sick people? Because they don't care about black people. I think I said that already. Okay. Gate McKenzie interview about what? Bloemfontein land grab is now full, apparently. Okay. Free house, free education. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Besides being very overpriced, those gazebos are a perfect way to hide donations. Exactly. How can that even be legal? And the horror possibility is that if the ANC drops below 50%, Buffalo Man goes and Machishile becomes president with the ANC. Now imagine that's right. Well, that's the thing. As long as Ramaphosa is president, they're not going to ally with the EFF. But if they depose Ramaphosa, which is a very real possibility, then they will line up with the EFF. No doubt about it. Yep. So much for human rights. Yeah, that's right, Debbie. Juju, no idea what human rights are. Malema or malanima. Malanima. Pan-Africanism is an unrealistic utopian concept. Africa's too tribal, says Minaj Kwa. Of course, Pan-Africanism doesn't work, and it never worked. It never worked. And Kwame Nkrumah was crazy. There are Muslims, and they are thus considered rich in South Africa. Exactly, Charles, just like white folks. Did you hear about the kid that collapsed and died? Yes, I did, Minaj Kwa. I didn't cover that story. That's a 16-year-old kid collapsed after a rugby contest. I didn't cover that. Hey, Mike is here. Welcome, Mike. Any opinion on the SANDF mission? Okay, that was the one you asked earlier. Eastern Congo. They're not replacing the UN mission, to my knowledge. That the UN's mandate still continues. They're just supplementing it. The SADC has no business going into Congo. No business. We've already seen SADC countries go in there and been rapacious thieves to support corrupt governments. We saw Zimbabwe and Namibia deploy troops there and then exfiltrate diamonds and coltan and all sorts of things from the Eastern DRC, stripping the area of its wealth and enriching the generals in the Namibian Defense Force and the Zimbabwe Defense Force. Yep. Nishkar Harris says, greetings from Durban. Welcome to you, sir. Pleasure to see you again. Richard says, I have no sympathy for people who vote for ANC, AFF, or MK. Will continue to state proof. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And what else we got here? Minaj says, you hear about the Ukrainians and Russians that fled to Sri Lanka are causing trouble and started. Yes, I'm well aware of that. They had a whites-only party, a white party. Nothing wrong with a white party, white wedding, white party. However, they put white face is what you had, so they got themselves in trouble. Earl Weideman is back. Good to see you again. Please emigrate to South Africa, confront our criminal politicians with the truth. Well, I'm running for office here in Pennsylvania at the moment, so that's a little bit impractical, but we'll see what happens. For those who don't know, I'm running for a state representative in the 92nd Legislative District of Pennsylvania. We'll see how that goes. It's an experience, to say the least. All right. Electricity would be great. Yeah, it would. Finally, good news. Yeah, Debbie, when I talked about Faf de Klerk and they're having a baby, that was pretty cool. Crocotopia is back. Good evening from London. All right. Well, whereabouts in London are you? Are you in East London? Ooh, it's a tough neighborhood there. I've been there. Yep. Little Miss Noah said, I will no longer live in South Africa. I knew in order to survive my anger, I tell myself I live in a foreign country. Ah, okay. Okay. Spend a lot of time in Sudan and Darfur. We do not understand the level of horror before. Oh, I understand it quite well. Outfiltrations. I understand it quite well. And I've been calling out the African Union and the Biden regime for the past few years, ever since the RSF and Burhan's forces lit the country up. Yep. And of course, we had Darfur going on for a long time. It was hideous what happened in Darfur. Excuse me. It seems ANC just deflecting their poor condition. That's true. Sahel is a war front from east in Mauritania. That's west. Mauritania's in the west, all the way through to the Red Sea. And with the French kicked out of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, replaced by rebranded Wagner. Well, it was a mess before the French arrived. It'll be a mess after the French are gone, and it will remain a mess for a long time. I lived in Mauritania. I lived in Niger, and I've been in Nigeria multiple times. So, yeah, I'm very familiar with this. I trained and equipped the Mauritanian Defense Forces and the FAN, the Force Armée Nigérienne in Niger, as well as set up the programs to hunt down the terrorists. Yep. Sandef are just around the corner in DRC. Why aren't they in Nigeria? Why aren't they in Sudan? Why aren't they in Somalia? Why aren't they? Well, they are in Mozambique. Yeah. Yeah, they'll beat them like Bafana. I guess Hamas is fine with using their own innocent people as pawns. Yes, Menaj I've been saying that since the outset. They don't care how many Palestinians they sacrifice. Again, this is a strategic. It's like the Tet Offensive in 1968, folks. Who want to compare to things. In 1968, the Tet Offensive crumbled the narrative that was fed by the fake legacy media, Walter Cronkite, and by the Johnson administration. Tonight in South Vietnam, 127 insurgents were killed in confrontation with coalition forces. This marks the 137th consecutive day over 100 enemy terrorists killed by South Vietnamese and American forces in this ongoing conflict. Yeah, that's what it did. But then Tet happened. Tonight we're getting reports live from Saigon where the Viet Cong are attacking the American embassy. Live footage. We go now to Saigon. In Khe Sanh, attacks are taking place throughout the country. The Viet Cong are attacking every village, city, and every South Vietnamese and American force. Vietnam is in flames at this hour. Yeah. The Tet Offensive destroyed the Viet Cong. They lost over 40,000 casualties. It was a complete disaster for the Viet Cong, but it was a victory for the North Vietnamese because they broke the lie of the Johnson administration and the legacy media, Uncle Walter Cronkite, and all the news. Yeah, so that's what happened there, folks. That's what happened there. And the same thing is happening around the world. Hamas is using this assault on Israel, which is forgotten. I mean, it took 5 months for the UN to say, well, there is clear evidence that Hamas did commit sexual torture, rape. What? We saw it live. They fed the world the information. When they didn't, it wasn't deep fakes. It was Hamas gleefully raping, sexually assaulting, anally assaulting young girls, and then shooting in the back of the head after they defile them. It didn't take the. Thank you, Brett, for a super chat. I appreciate that. Thoughts on Mauritania? I'll try to get that before I wrap up the stream. Let me get through this really quick here. So Hamas is fine with that, but this is a major strategic victory for Hamas and the Palestinians who seek the destruction of Israel and the West, because people see 30,000 dead people in Gaza and not what caused it. It's Ramadan. They had to leave a country that still has some Christians in it. Yeah, Egypt does have a few Christians in it. It's true. Okay, paranoid superpower. U.S. government doesn't control citizen access to news. They try. Yeah. Of all the exotic critters I've eaten, I've never had reindeer. I've never had reindeer. Droolenomics. Oppenheimer's and De Beers late. Partner with the Anglo-American established elite finance. Azrael says, surely you must mention Marjorie Taylor Greene's epic put down to the awful British lefty journalist. Yeah, I haven't really talked about it. I did see it. I haven't listened to it. She told her to go F herself. It was just all set up. That's not a journalist. That's a sensationalist. That's someone that works for like the National Enquirer, those trash magazines and newspapers that are on or on point of sale machines in grocery stores. Now, that's not a real journalist. She's been fired by the BBC. Even a propaganda outlet fires you, you're in bad shape. By the way, topic of crime, there are 3 solar panels got stolen, so now we have the remaining ones chained down. Jeez. So what I said, I've told people that all along. Solar panels are not a solution in a country where crime is rampant. It's unbelievable. Yep. Been doing that since Bloomberg's stop and frisk. Yep, exactly. Replacement migration by the UN. All right, I'm catching up here. ANC and AFF sympathizing douchebags at my workplace fought me tooth and nail and did not want me to go to the doctor when I was having heart palpitations. Are you serious, Brett? That's horrible. I told them I was going to the doctor. Doctor's not sure if I have heart issues or stress issues. Good Lord, Brett. I hope you're okay. We hadn't heard from you in a while. I just figured you're busy working. Debbie says, hey to Julie Russell. Is Julie here? I didn't see Julie pop in. Jan Fion's here. And all the Temple of Satan is more and more active in the U.S. Capitol building set up. Okay. The biggest beneficiaries of DI are white women. So I've heard, but I don't believe that to be true. Okay. My friend's puppy named after Faf. That's funny. Thoughts on Mauritania? Yeah, Mauritania is a country that has challenges. There are major racial issues between the Arabs and black Africans. Slavery still continues unofficially, and it's a country with not always the best governance. Will the government's ever enforce anti-slavery laws? Yeah, well, they are enforcing them selectively. Will blacks get equal rights with Arabs in Mauritania? Probably not in our lifetime. Yep, Kami Cronkite. Oh, somebody just deleted that. All right, oh my word, no one speaks like that. Agree, let alone a journalist. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Debbie. That's she's not a journalist. She's a sensationalist. She's like the people that do YouTube and come and stick a microphone in your face. Hong 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 hong. No, not a journalist. That's not real journalism. By the way, my solar panels today, we're up to 12.4. Woohoo! And it's generating 5 per hour. Hopefully it'll keep it up the rest of the day. Got to make up for what's been a bad week so far. I still haven't crossed 2 megawatts. I've been stuck at 1.9 to 2 for a week now, trying to get over 2 megawatts lifetime generation. Worst place I ever stayed in Africa, Mauritania. Close second is Sudan. Yeah, Mauritania was definitely the most boring, driest, least exciting, and poorest place I've been in Africa. And I've been all over. O'Keefe, what? Which O'Keefe? O'Keefe for the investigative journalist. Yeah, I got respect for him. O'Keefe has done some great, it's one thing to stick a microphone in someone's place and do something. It's another to catch people who are committing crimes or lying to the public and catch them, in an off moment, which is what he does. Sudan's very interesting from an archaeological perspective. Yeah, that's true. Of course, Israel's a space agency. Yeah. All right. All right, folks. Those who are here, there's 85 now. I don't know how many of you will hang around, but give me a minute. I got to go to the loo. I got to get ready, and we're going to do a live stream here in about 3 minutes on the issue that's come up here about MK, and I'm going to talk to you about that. Yep. Exactly. So thanks a lot. Please don't run off. Be sure to hit the like button. Only 82 likes. Thank you for the $10 super chat, Brett. Hope I answered your question. We haven't get much in the way of super chats here. So we're going to wrap it up here, and I'll see you guys in just a couple minutes. You'll be automatically redirected, so you get a chance to get something to drink, grab a sandwich real quick, and come back and catch the next one. I'm doing it in my studio, so it's directed to my studio. So, all right, I'll see you guys in just a moment. Thanks a lot. God bless. Have a lovely evening if you're not sticking with us. And those of you sticking with us, thank you so much. I'll see you in just a couple minutes. Cheers.